Hey, what's up, everybody? I don't know about you, but things have been a little crazy here at my house lately. As a lot of you know, right after Emma was hired by the United Way of Brevard, things got real with COVID-19, and her work hours increased as she started coordinating food banks and feeding programs across the county. Then I had to completely rethink the way that we were doing church at First UMC, which, probably more than doubled my work hours too. Then the kids, who, for the first couple of weeks after the schools closed, thought that they were on an early summer vacation. They had to shift gears and start homeschooling online. And so we had to set up a classroom in our dining room and make sure that they were staying up to speed with their assignments. And by we, I mean Emma. As if things were not stressful enough, our house became an active construction site. All the plumbing is being replaced and the bathrooms are being remodeled as we continue to live and work here. And while we're so grateful for the upgrades, as well as having our friend Dusty with Slatinsky Builders lead this project, it's really loud, and workers are in and out of the house throughout the day, beginning as early as 8 o'clock in the morning. And as a pastor, I feel responsible for keeping a positive and encouraging attitude with all our church members and friends. So I'm sure that you've heard me say things like, God is with us, or we have so much to be thankful for, or this is a great time to reset and spend some quality time with God, or we'll get through this together and come out on the other end even stronger. As a preacher, I go to church and I set up the camera, I hit the record button, and I smile and I deliver a message of faith, hope, and love with about as much energy as I can muster. But you need to know that behind the scenes, there are days when I want to check myself into a psychiatric facility. As I'm sure you understand, some days are harder than others to be patient with my kids or kind to my wife. I have moments when I'm positive and helpful, and I'm sad to say moments when I've been a jerk. And I know that some of you might find that hard to believe, but just ask Emma, or actually don't ask Emma. But I just wanted to get real about these things because you need to know that the emotional roller coaster that you're riding right now is normal as we navigate a global pandemic. And I just want you to hear that. This is a global pandemic. It's normal to feel stressed out. It's normal to feel sad and bored and irritated and isolated and even angry. And in our better moments, when we realize that we blew it with our spouse, our kids, or our friends, it's normal to feel guilty. In all of this discomfort, it's also normal to struggle with old hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and for some people, to even struggle with addictions. Because, whenever we feel out of our emotional depth, it's easy to fall back into old coping mechanisms and sources of comfort to help us just survive the day or escape for a little while. But remember that all of these feelings are part of what we might call God's alarm system. I believe that God has wired us with these feelings and that they are not bad in and of themselves. Rather, they're like blinking lights on your car dashboard, letting you know that something needs attention before you have a breakdown. And if we're wise enough to pay attention, to listen to what our feelings are trying to tell us, then we can use them to make good decisions and to move forward in ways that will not only be helpful but healthy. Um, and as a Christian, one of the ways I'm dealing with some of this stuff is by meditating on Scripture. And today I read a passage that really spoke to me. It's from Paul's letter to the Colossians. I think it was chapter 3, beginning with verse 12. This is what it says. Therefore, as God's chosen people, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if you have a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you, and Over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them together in perfect unity. And as I read these words, they kind of felt like a Godsmack. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you remember how you're supposed to act, you realize that you aren't acting that way, and then God kind of smacks you on the back of the head and says, "Hey, what's going on, dude?" This is how I read Paul's words this morning. I realized that there have been several times lately when I haven't been very compassionate, gentle, or especially patient with the people that I love the most. And sorry, I had a bug there. And this creates appropriate guilt, but instead of going to shame, I take it as an opportunity to self correct and to try to do better today. And these verses set before us an ideal, something that can guide us in the right direction, something toward which we can strive. And I think that this is precisely what we need when our circumstances are tempting us to be selfish and grumpy. As we shelter in place, as they say, and deal with the stressors that are pushing us to the limit and making us difficult to be around, and at some point all of us are difficult to be around, we're reminded to be compassionate, kind, humble, gentle, patient, forgiving, and above all, loving, especially with those that we share a home with. And then Paul goes on to say in verse 15 to be thankful and to sing songs that will remind you of the truth and bring you joy. And this is also great advice as we try not to climb the walls of our house. Be thankful. We can choose to focus on all the disappointments, or we can choose to focus on the gifts that we still enjoy every day. Emma and I were laying in bed a couple of days ago, remembering the past couple of hurricanes. And during those times, like now, we were kind of stuck in a house with nowhere to go. But we also lost electricity and water. And so, for example, although we'd love to go hang out at 4th Street Filling Station with our friends tonight, we're also really grateful to have air conditioning, the internet, and flushable toilets. I'm also really grateful that locals can still walk the beach and surf. I don't know about you, but if I have to go through a global pandemic, there's nowhere I'd rather be than Cocoa Beach. And I really mean that. Because even with all the social restrictions, we still live in paradise, and the beauty of God's creation is all around us. And even though we sometimes brush each other's fur in the wrong direction, there's no other people I'd rather shelter in place with than the crazy people that make up my family. So, it might seem hard at first, but in my experience, if you make a decision to shift your focus and start paying attention to the good that's all around you, it becomes easy to find things to be thankful for. And this is one of the main things that can give us joy, even in the middle of a stressful situation. So Paul is helpful because Paul reminds us to be thankful and to sing. When's the last time that you sang a song? Music has a special connection to the soul. It speaks to our hearts and has the power to inspire us and to raise our spirits. So it's helpful sometimes to turn off the news for a little while and listen to music. And when we do, we should choose wisely. There have been times in my life when going through painful experiences that I made it worse by listening to depressing music. And at first, it helped me to get in touch with my sadness and to express my pain, both of which are really important. But after a while, I started feeling like a 15-year-old goth kid, woe's me, the world sucks. And the sad thing is that I was doing it to myself by listening to the saddest playlist that I could find. You can only listen to Snuff by Slipknot and I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Raitt so many times before you want to crawl into a dark hole. And don't get me wrong, I still love these songs, but when I need a pick-me-up, that's just not where I go. Rather, I turn to music with hopeful and inspiring lyrics that remind me of the truth. Songs like Another in the Fire by Hillsong or You Make Me Brave by Amanda Lindsay Cook. All of us have songs that remind us of who we are, that lift our spirits and give us hope, and this is what we should be seeking out when we're having a hard time. Remember that your soul, which is the seed of faith, hope, and love, is like a plant that needs to be watered and fed if it's going to survive drought-like conditions, which is kind of like what we're in right now. And meditating on Scripture and singing uplifting songs are ways of watering and feeding your soul. Well, that's pretty much all that I want to say this morning, and I hope my words have been helpful. You know, I know that things are going to be up and down for a while, and we're going to experience, varying levels of stress and disappointment and loneliness and sadness, but the good news is that we don't have to become a victim of these negative feelings. Rather, we can pursue the goal set before us by Paul to do our best to be compassionate, kind, gentle, and patient. And when we fall short, to ask for forgiveness and to do our best to self-correct. We can count our blessings and we can sing songs that lift our spirits and connect us with our higher power. These are all ways that we can stay sane, that we can stay married, that we can stay grounded in this utterly strange and challenging time. And this is my prayer for you today. So I hope that you guys have a good day and a good week, and be encouraged. Be encouraged. We'll see you later.